Hey everybody, Mean Joe again from Balsa, USA. So part of the Toledo 2020 experience, as you know, is to make sure that we can touch base with all of the vendors that you guys would have been able to talk to at the show. And since none of us were able to make it this year, I wanted to make sure we got them on. So who I've got now is Brian Bychowski from DuBro. Welcome to the show, Brian. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you having me.
We're basically going to walk through. First off, I know Brian is president of the company now, and I believe that's a fairly new transition, is it not?
It is. It's as of December 31st, New Year's Eve, we closed this year.
Perfect.
So, yeah, we've been working on it for quite a while. It's been 3 years, actually, in the works, working with Jim and Kathy and Gail, the former owners. And I've worked there for 19 years as a sales and marketing director, and it's something that Jim and I had talked about for many years coming up, and we finally were able to make it work. And it's been a good transition, but pretty smooth transition, except for the whole COVID thing. That's a little out of the park there, but yeah, everything else has been pretty smooth.
Yeah, we're all dealing with the same thing, and that's something that's come up obviously for every episode so far. And it's really just a matter of we're all still here, we're all still available. We were just before we went live talking about stock coming in, so everything is still there. Although some of the shipping and some of that stuff might be a little slower than what you would normally see, we're all still here and we're all still active in the hobby and doing what we can to get products out as quickly as we can. So,
yeah. Well, along that line, one thing that has been a good thing for us is everyone may not realize, but DuBro is in other industries as well. And through our model airplane parts, as well as our other industry items, we also sell those in bulk to different industries. So we sell to military contractors, medical places such as like St. Jude's Hospital, Children's Hospital. They buy from us on different components and things like that. So in addition to the hobby products, we've been able to still operate on a skeleton crew situation to keep some of those essential things going too. So it's been a challenge for sure, but it's definitely it's good to know that we have things that are helping people.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that the most of the companies are being allowed to maintain what they can call essential employees to keep the businesses running. And I know that's how we're operating out of our shop is under the Michigan guidelines. We're able to keep essential people on staff at the shop so that we're able to use or to be able to process and ship orders as they come in. So that was a game changer for us. At first, we weren't sure that was going to happen. And then they clarified it and said, yeah, that's perfect.
And we're in Illinois, obviously, in that way, that's a similar deal. We have, the opportunity to maintain our building for security, for basic functions, minimum operations, as well as protecting our inventory and things like that. So there's just certain things that you have to do. But at the same time, when we're doing it, we're in a 40,000 square foot building. So we're able to spread out pretty well. And anyone who is there, we're practicing all the safeguards and, the more than 6 foot distancing, all the hand sanitizer, hand washing protocols, that kind of stuff. So we're doing everything we can to keep everyone safe.
Perfect. Yeah. And I just got off the last broadcast with Mike, and they're doing exactly the same thing there. And that's what we're doing on our end. Basically, we've got 2 people in the shop, and they rotate to actually the president of the company comes in and does all of our shipping, and she shows up later in the day so that the other folks can be gone. So we're, all that stuff's being handled. Everything's safe, and we're all doing what we can in regards to making sure we keep our hands washed and do all this hand sanitizing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I want to welcome the live viewers to the chat. I see Sean Michaels. I see William Margita have put in a couple of comments. They all say hi, and we've got 15 live viewers, so we're doing pretty good. It'll pick up as we go. So tell me a little bit about your history in the hobby. You said you'd been working for DuBro for, I think you said 15 years?
19. Yeah, 19 years. So I actually got hired right after September 11th. So there's something with me coming in and having, natural disaster, big issues going on. So maybe it's my fault. But actually, I grew up full-scale aircraft. My brother's a 747 pilot for UPS, and my dad was in Vietnam. He was a crew chief on OV-1 Mohawks, Grumman aircraft. So I've always had an interest and love for airplanes. Less on the model side when I was younger, just because I didn't have access to it, but always into flying in general and aeronautics. As I went into my career, I ended up getting more into the television production and radio production side of things, and that's actually how I got hooked up with DuBro, where I produced a promo video for the Richter show. It probably would have been in 2000 when you came into the big trade show, the Richter show, which is, I guess it was the iHobby after that. There was a big Jumbotron with some hype video on it to get you excited. So I was hired by DuBro to produce that. So Jim and I, the previous owner of DuBro, hit it off really well. We in DuBro's other industries, we're in the archery and the fishing industry. So I produced some videos for him there as well. And eventually came to work at DuBro and headed up all the marketing, all the advertising. And then Jim and I started what some may remember, the Inside RC TV show that aired on the Outdoor Channel. So kind of used some of my previous contacts and experience there and brought a hobby show, television show to the industry, and worked on that for quite a while in addition to our other obligations, and just continued to work up through the company and do more of the handle more of the manufacturing, more of the office work, more kind of wanted to put myself in different areas of the company. And with, like I said, the plan kind of Jim and I roughly were in conversations. We're saying, hey, if you want to retire at some point in time, let's try to make something happen. And it took us 3 years. The last 3 years were pretty stressful, but not stressful in in an aggravation way for him and I personally, or his sisters who were also owners. Actually, that was the very smooth part. It was just, when you buy a company, especially a company that size, there's a lot of roadblocks, a lot of hassles. So luckily we have the great relationship we do, and we were able to, get through it all. So Jim, they all exited the company and retired, but Jim still is an independent contractor, and he's on with us as a product designer. So the product development side of DuBro that everyone's gotten used to over the years, really won't change. I mean, from an outside standpoint, you're not going to see much difference because Jim is still an integral part of the development design of the products. And he's not involved in day-to-day operations, but I still get to tap into that creativity he's got and utilize that. So it's a great thing for us all. But so then we just kind of evolved over the years. And what's great about DuBro is all of our employees have been there a long time. For a good period of time, I was the junior man on the totem pole, but we have people that have been there. I think the oldest is 32 years at the company. We have employees that are 26 years, 17 years, 15 years, 7 years, and actually our youngest, from a 10-year standpoint, not an age standpoint, is somebody who just started this year, taking over the office functions for Jim's sisters who retired. So we have a less than 1 year employee, but everyone else is, if not double digits, very close to double digits. So it goes to just show that the company as a whole has always been, a great company to work for, a great company for people to buy from every aspect of it. I think what Jim and Kathy and Gail had turned, their father started Dewey, what they've kind of created and nurtured over the years has just been a great experience for the customers to get the products they want and that work well in their models and in other areas. And from the company side, great place to work and just an all-around good company.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's interesting because, I look around my shop here and I have tools, I have, parts and pieces, and the amount of products that DuBro produces is mind-boggling because we carry a lot of your products at Boss USA, and as well as before I even started at Boss USA, I have a lot of your products. I mean, we use DuBro stuff every place. William on here says, greetings. I use a lot of DuBro products, and it's just fact. There's one of the big mainstays in the hobby. One of the first companies that comes to mind is DuBro, and I think it stands to say because of the quality that you guys produce and the amount of products that you produce, really make it easy for somebody to go out and find the parts and pieces and tools that they need. So it's kudos to you for sticking in there and doing it like you guys are doing it. Interestingly, if you guys go on, first off, let me get the screen share thing going here. If you go on to the DuBro website, I got to get the right tab. You can see all of the different stuff they have. They have just about every single thing that you can think of. They have quick connects. They've got wire benders. They've got control horns, wheels. They do hinge tape, filling stations, clevises. I mean, the list of products available through DuBro is absolutely huge. And interestingly, a lot of people don't understand that they also have a fishing and marine section. So
Correct.
they're out there
That,
doing it in many different ways and shapes. And to have a company in this day and age that is so diverse in what they do is really kind of mind-boggling to me.
well, and it's kind of cool that Orv, or some know him as Dewey, some know him as Orv, but the founder of DuBro, Jim and Kathy and Gail's father, he basically took the approach of building products, building tools for his hobbies. And obviously control line and free flight and RC were something he was passionate about, but he was also a big fisherman. He had a house off of Lake Michigan and did a lot of trolling for salmon and trout and things like that, and eventually retired in the Florida Keys and got into saltwater fishing, trolling for marlin, sailfish, you name it. So the fishing division was kind of a natural fit because he was a guy that when he did something, he was always looking at it from the mentality of how can I make this better? How can I make this easier? And no matter what industry he was in, he always wanted to make something that was better. I mean, we were joking about it yesterday. Actually, he came up with a chopstick holder one time because he was at a Chinese restaurant and was aggravated seeing how it was so hard for everyone to learn how to use chopsticks. He made a little holder. We still have it today. I was actually debating about bringing it back out because it works.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he would do that. I mean, then the archery industry. I mean, that became Jim, his son. When Jim took over the company, he started Pine Ridge Archery, our third division, and it was the same. Jim's the same kind of mindset. It was okay. Here's something I do. We're we're out hunting, we're out shooting bows, whatever it might be, and this is a hassle. How do we make this situation better? And that's always been the mother of all invention for DuBro. Is we always laugh. It's Toledo show was always extremely important for us because a modeler would come up to the booth and say, you know what I got a problem with? I got a problem with this, and you should figure out a way to fix this, and whatever that was. And it'd be, okay, well, we'd get a lot of them that may not be something we could do, but many of the products came from modelers going, I can't figure out how to make this better, or somebody needs to make this better. You should do this. And we'd run back and we'd, draw something up on the way home from Toledo and end up having, prototypes within a week or so, and just that would become a new item. So
that's really cool how that works.
Yeah, we would never try to go specifically for one model and say, hey, this airplane's real popular, this kit's really popular, you should make something for that, because it just wasn't enough lifespan for us for the product. So we would try to say, okay, well, if you're having a problem on this, what else would this accomplish if we fix this problem? And how do we make it more universal? And that's kind of what, all of our products have the microscope we put them all under is how do we make it so it's wider than just that model, that aircraft, that car, truck, or whatever. And, shows and modelers were really a big source of that. We might figure out how to do it or the best way to do it, but a lot of the ideas were generated from modelers themselves.
Right. And then, to show even something like this is one of your tube benders. I use this constantly, and it's a great product. It's a very simple design, but because of its simplicity, it really works well. And you can use this to bend. I use this all the time to bend fuel tubing for setting up tanks. And that's what I use. Is I use my little DuBro tube bender, and it works great. It's perfect
for doing the vent line in the tank, and you just get that, you don't get the kink in there.
I literally use it all the time.
That's a scaled down version of a full scale, if you will, tubing bender, and that's where a lot of the things that we do came from larger or full scale situations that didn't exist in the hobby world. So we microed them down and figured out how to handle the load or handle the stress or whatever it might be that they're going to have, but in a miniature form.
Very cool. Yeah. And that's my experience with it. I also, all the time, I can't show it on the screen because they're mounted to my bench over there, but I also have the wire benders.
The Easy Bender, yeah.
The Easy Benders. They work. I've got them for all, I think there's 3 sizes over there, and I use them constantly for setting up airplanes. So, that kind of stuff is really simple, but it saves a lot of time.
And we, there's a lot of modelers that we kind of get, and I'm sure you guys do a similar thing where we think everyone knows everything already because they've been doing it for 100 years. Well, we've got a lot of modelers who have not been doing it that long, and they don't know everything that's available to them, or they struggle with these processes that we take for granted, like that you do a tubing bender or a wire bender. So we started doing what's called DuBro 101 videos with Terry Dunn, who you know, and Lee Ray. Where these guys are doing tech tip videos on how to use or how to perform certain functions. Ed Bojan also been with our company forever, retired a couple years ago, but still around. He did a bunch of our how-to videos in the past where it's just simple things that we take for granted. It might be how to solder, you know, a quick link on, or how to install the snow skis, how to bend wire. But we're trying to make more of a library. This, as you guys do as well. It just, you know, videos are easier to watch, easier to understand, and we're trying to, you know, make these basic functions more easily understood by, you know, newer modelers especially.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I want to point out. If you go to just do a Google search or a YouTube search for DuBro, it's actually going to come up under DuBro Pine Ridge. That is the right place to go. And they have a playlist set here, and you can see this is a friend of mine, Terry, that's doing a lot of their product videos for them, and also Lee Ray. These are the guys from the RC podcast. Mm-hmm. And then the name is escaping me right now, but
RC Roundtable, yeah.
RC Roundtable, yeah. So they've done a lot of how-to videos on here. There's a ton of stuff available, and you can go on. And this one, he's showing how to install control horns on an RC airplane. So it's a kind of a back to basics approach. Mm-hmm. And I really like that because that's one of the things we have been trying to concentrate on here at Balsa USA. Because for me, when I first started in, a lot of the complaints I was getting, and I've been with Balsa now for about 4 years, and one of the complaints that I was always getting from our social media side was, hey, that's all great that you guys are doing these big builds, but what about the guys that are just getting started? And that's the whole idea behind, you know, not only like the beginner build series that we have on our YouTube channel, but I post a lot of what I consider to be rudimentary tips. And I think that's the key because I think as a hobby as a whole, we've kind of get stuck, like Brian said, we get kind of stuck on, you know, everybody knows how to do that. Well, yes and no. There's a lot of things that people don't understand how to do. And I think it's great to be able to bring some of the rudimentary stuff back to light. I was really excited. Terry actually had texted me, it's been a few months ago now, probably right when he came on and let me know that he was going to be working with you guys. And that was really exciting to me because I knew that Terry would do a good job of making sure the products get seen and properly used. So that was a good thing.
And, you know, and something by us going through all this, what I personally have experienced is some things that we take for granted when they're shown in a simple format like Terry and Lee are doing. I've actually caught some tips where I go, you know what, I never thought of doing it that way, or that's I get to the same result maybe, but I didn't think of that process, and that was easier. So I think even a veteran can look at something, or if we're the ones actually doing the video or doing the tip, when you're spelling it out and teaching somebody, sometimes you realize, you go, you know what, why do I do it like that? You know, why don't I do it like this? So I think it's great for anyone to just review some of these basics, and we'll get a little, you know, more techie, maybe a little deeper in the weeds on some things, but I think these beginner videos, as you want to call them, or whatever they might be, are good for every level because you never know what you're going to learn.
Right. And I share a lot of the videos that you guys are producing on our social media, and I get a lot of that, exactly what you just said. I get a lot of people saying, you know, I've been doing this for years, but I never thought of that. I never actually thought about doing that. I had a gentleman, and I can't now because I get so much stuff incoming every day, the 1, 2, 3 blocks. I use the 1, 2, 3 blocks all the time. And a friend of mine had texted me and said, you know, I've been a machinist and I'm pulling it up on my phone right now because I can't remember who said that to me now, but somebody, it was Eric Kendall. Eric Kendall said to me just the other day, he says, you know, I've been a machinist for 20 some years and I never thought about using the 1, 2, 3 blocks for building my RC airplanes. And it's that kind of basic stuff. So what you guys are doing is exactly what I'm doing. If I'm in the shop and I'm working on something and I pick up a tool, and I thought, you know, I've never done a video on this, or I've never explained how I use this. Then I just turn on the live video feed and do a live video on it. It's great.
Right.
That content is golden.
It's something that, you know, all of us that have been around, you know, the marketing and media world for a while, kind of, I don't want to say it's newer because it's been around for a little bit, but it's a change of mindset of where you're not waiting for publication dates. You're not waiting for somebody else to present that message for you. You're just going, hey, hit record. Let's go. I'm telling you exactly what I want to tell you, and I want to tell you now. And that can get you in trouble too sometimes.
It can, and we we talk about it all the time. The instant gratification. We were just talking about this. I was talking about it with my podcast earlier this morning with Chad Boudreau. It's the instant gratification thing. So now, trade shows, everybody's going to miss Toledo, but because of the awesomeness of the internet and the instant gratification, we can still do some of that stuff. Not to say the trade shows aren't key, because I personally, the trade shows for me are all about the interaction. And, and that's part of what we wanted to make sure we did here is get some of that interaction out so the people that aren't able to attend can still have some of that. So I think it's great. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. And obviously, you've been in business for so long that your products are quality and people are using them. So.
Yeah, and there's two big benefits for Toledo. Like I mentioned, one is people come up and saying, "Hey, nice buck, by the way." Yeah, right on. I got another one over here with my daughter's first one, but you can't see that one yet. But yeah, with Toledo, in other shows, we get the product ideas. But the other reason this year was going to be special for us, and this one actually bothers me the most. Ed Bojan, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Ed's a great guy. I shared an office with him for many, many, many years at DuBro. And last year, he told Jim that the two of them went, and I hadn't gone to Toledo in a few years. The two of them were going. He said, "I want one last Toledo." Even though he was retired, he said, "I want to go to Toledo one more time and work the DuBro booth." They got there, and he had a major health issue. And it was scary, like really scary. So long story short, he had a full recovery. He's doing great. Fantastic. He looks better than ever. So I said, "You know what, Ed? Come with me this year. We're going to go do Toledo the right way for you. You want to go see Toledo one more time? Let's go do it." And of course, we can't go.
Well, he can come next year.
He's coming next year. He's doing great. I have no doubt he'll be there. So
2021, let's do this.
Yeah.
I know we'll be there for sure. So, well, excellent. So did you guys have any new products that you were going to come? I know with the transition with the new ownership and stuff, there wasn't a lot of R&D going on, I'm sure. But if there was something that you had that was going to be new, I'd sure like to bring it up if we can.
We have, you're exactly right. We were still designing products, but we didn't launch anything or go, fully down that road, obviously, because it's just transition. But we did come out with the square lock push rod connector, which is an easy connector that's squared off, allows you to put a wrench on it. Works with 256, with 72 push rods. So it's just a nice variation of an item that everyone needs. The easy connector is a staple in the industry, and this is just actually, if you want to type 969 968 in the search, it'll come right up for you. That's the part number. It's always part numbers are always a little better for us.
Oh yeah, but for sure. You've got so much stuff.
Yeah, so it's a great product. It does very well, and we're happy with it. We have about, I want to say, 3 or 4 other items in the pipeline right now that, had the situation been a little different, we might have launched them by now. But we're going to push that back a little bit into the year. And with this whole thing going on right now, I can't get my build maker into to have meetings and have get the final production things done on some of the new products. So that's stalling us now. We were supposed to meet a couple days ago and finalize some molds that we're working on, and he can't come in, obviously. So
yeah, I understand.
So that part messes us up. We do almost everything in house, but that's one thing we do on the outside is we have some long-standing relationships with mold makers who almost work exclusively for us. They have other projects as well, but they're not in house. So that slowed us down. But the push rod connector is a good one. But we kind of go back and forth on this a lot, and this goes right with our video conversation that DuBro has over 1,000 items, and especially with new modelers, new products are important, and we got to keep coming out with them. But there are so many items that people either forgot or don't even know we have. So we always wrestle with how do we let people know on that, what's available to them. And one of them is the videos. One of them is social media, which Terry Dunn also helps us with that too. Just keeping the products in front of people, keeping the solutions in front of them. And it may not be a new product this year, but there's plenty of items that if guys don't know that they exist, they're going to want to find out because they're going to make their builds that much easier, that much better quality.
Sure, yeah. And we had a suggestion by Just Fly. We need a number 11 X-Acto blade sharpener.
All right.
There's one for you.
I'm going to write that down right now.
There you go.
I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, and then Steve says he uses a lot of the easy adjusters on his foamies. So very cool. Yeah, the products are very popular. So like I said, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any modeler that doesn't have some DuBro products. So
I mentioned my brother flies for UPS. So he flies international. He's all around the world all the time. And that's one thing he's told me is it's whenever he hears that one of his co-pilots are into model airplanes or whatever, he mentions that I work for DuBro and their face lights up. So it doesn't matter what part of the world he's in, or you go in any town, any hobby shop, anywhere in the world, and you're going to look up and see DuBro on the wall. So that's something that we always have a lot of pride in.
Yeah, those packages. I've got a little pegboard over here that's full of the stuff. So I'm very familiar with that. So I gotta bust Kyle here. Kyle Jarris. I'm not supposed to tell Terry he said so, but he says Terry is good people.
Yep, so, he's all right.
He's okay. He's all right. So I actually had the opportunity to meet. I'd been speaking with Terry and Lee for quite some time online, and I was actually able to sit down with them at AMA East in New York. Was it last year we did that? And actually was able to meet the whole crew. So it was really kind of cool for me to be able to sit down with those guys and enjoy with him and Fritz and Terry and Lee. A great group of guys. Great group of guys.
A lot of modeling experience there for sure.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Cool. So let me see. You got anything else you want to cover while we got you?
No, I mean, I think what we are in multiple industries like we've talked about. And I think one thing that's really cool to see is that the hobby, for years, people say, oh, the hobby's not as strong as it used to be, or the young kids aren't coming into it or whatever. But with this situation that we're in right now, I think what we're seeing, and I'm sure you guys are as well, that people have spare time. They have more family time. They want to try something different. They're tired of watching Netflix all day long or sitting on their phone all day long. So getting kits and putting together, whether it be basic, small little arcs and getting a sense of accomplishment there and then moving on from there, whatever it might be, I think we're seeing that maybe tick up a bit. And I think after this is all done, I hope that'll continue on and more the flying aspect will get back into everything. And I think everyone's got to take the opportunity to throw the idea out to friends and family who don't get into RC or modeling of any kind right now and just kind of say, hey, if you're looking for something different, go build an airplane, build a boat, build a car, whatever it might be. Because what I've noticed is people that are not around it don't think about it. It's not a common thing that just pops in their head like, hey, I should do this. But when they find out, or when I may be meeting somebody new and they ask what I do and I mention it about the RC hobby and they say, oh, I've always wanted to do that, or I've always thought about that, but I've never done it. How do I start? So I think if we all as an industry or as modelers share that off with people, I think we're going to all see, one side of it says, well, you don't want to have too many people come in as a modeler because then flying field's crowded or whatever it might be. But the more people that come in, the more the industry benefits and the more new product development happens. And, that kind of more hobby shops can survive, which is what we want. So I think as modelers and as industry people, I think we just got to make sure that everyone realizes what's out there. And this is a perfect time with everyone locked down to know that they have other options in their phone and Netflix.
Right. And that's one of the things that I push constantly from my end is, I hear all these arguments with this FAA thing that we've got looming over us and all this other stuff. I hear people saying, oh, the drones did this, or the guys that are flying the foamies do this, whatever. To me, it doesn't matter what you enjoy flying. If it's a drone or a quadcopter or, giant scale, whatever, we all need to be on the same page. And the reason for that is because we all need to stand up and let them know that this is what we are and this is what we do. So to me, it's going to be much easier for all of us to be able to enjoy our hobbies, because when it comes down to it, everybody that I talk to, whether they be vendors, whether they be just builders, whatever, we're all passionate about what we do in the hobby. Doesn't matter what it is. The FPV mini drone guys are every bit as passionate about what they do as the giant scale competitors are. So it's time that now, especially, is a time for us to try to cross-populate that so that when this all comes back around, because make no mistake, here at some point, the whole FAA thing is going to resurface again.
Yeah.
We need to all be on the same page. And I think it's for what you guys do and for what several of the other vendors do that help us do that, because the diversity, I guarantee, from your standpoint, like I said, giant scale modeler versus a drones guy, I guarantee that drones guy has got the same DuBro products in his toolbox as the giant scale guy, I guess. It's just that's the way, and we have to think about it moving into the future. So I love what you guys doing in that effect.
And I think we always need to look at other industries, because we're in different industries. We see it more than maybe some other people do, but the fishermen are the same way. They, I'm a fly fisherman. I don't care about the trolling guy, or I don't care about the bass guy because I'm a walleye guy, whatever it might be. There's always that infighting, but at the same time, we're all one. Archery, you're a crossbow guy. He's a compound. He's a traditional archer guy. So every industry has their little internal battles, but the industries always get stronger when everyone says, hey, like you just said, we all have common ground. Let's work to build up the whole hobby, the whole sport together, and, learn from mistakes of other people. Let's make our hobby better because of them.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that point. And as far as the kids go, I know Kyle's still in here viewing. We had Kyle's young kids on here the other day, and they're getting into building. We actually are going to send them a couple of our Stick 40 kits, and they're going to build and learn how to build. So, just keep taking, like Brian was saying, get to the kids to the field, take them out, show them, video chat with your neighbor. Hey, let me talk to your kid, let me show them what we're doing here, that kind of thing. Get them to the fields, take them out, fly, get them going, because the kids are the future.
Absolutely.
Because if we don't have the kids, the kids are the future. Get them out there, get them excited. So cool.
Right.
Kyle says, well said. Let's see. There's joy to be found in all aspects of the hobby.
Absolutely.
I agree 100%. There's a reason why he's the educational director at AMA, I think.
Yep. Right. It shows.
Yeah. Okay, Brian. Well, I really want to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I want to thank all of our live viewers. Keep in mind, visit www.DuBroRC for all your RC needs. We do carry a lot of their products also on balsausa.com. And don't forget, this weekend, we're doing the Toledo 2020 Keep Calm and Build On sale. Enter coupon code Toledo 2020 to get show pricing on all kits and accessories that would have been available at the show. And also at the same time, if you use that coupon code correctly, which is Toledo 2020, you will be entered in to win a 1/3 scale, fully laser cut Sopwith pup kit from Balsa USA. Brian, I thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate your time. I know you guys are busy there just like we are here, and it means the world to us that you took the time to come spend some time with us.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on here. It's definitely a very cool thing. So if there's one good thing that comes out of this whole thing, is more of this kind of communication. I like it. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Again, make sure you check them out over at DuBro RC. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and happy building.